What's up everyone, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, out on a snowy New Hampshire day. This should be a lot of fun, just getting out into the woods today. We're going to be testing out this, which is the Cold Steel Rifleman Tomahawk. This came to us from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. smkw.com is their website, smkw.com. I like tomahawks. This one is brand new. We're going to put it through some of the paces and let you know what we think about it. Let me give you some of the details on this as we start off. 22 inches from end to end, about 8 inches for your head and about 3.5 for your cutting edge. It is made in Taiwan, which is interesting because it does say right there, what's the name? American Tomahawk Company. So I don't know exactly what the relationship is, but it is made in Taiwan. It is a hickory handle. One thing I can tell you I already like is it's a little hard to see, but it's tapered. So it's not just round, it kind of comes in sort of like a teardrop, I would say. And that I used on a H&B Forge Tomahawk, and that I just feel like gives me way more control, way more grip. Obviously you can see we got the cutting edge there, and then we've got a hammer pommel on the back. One other thing that is interesting is you've got that little set screw right there. So you slide it on and you can crank that in to give a little bit more control. Now the purists out there in the Tomahawk world are gonna say, I don't like that. I get it, but just wanna let you know about it, and we'll, you know, it does give it a little bit more stability as far as it's not gonna slide up and down the handle as easily. If you have not used Tomahawks before, they are not gonna be generally as efficient as, you know, a committed axe for felling big trees or, you know, chopping wood. They definitely work quite well, but they've got some nuances. Originally designed as a weapon and then also as a utility tool for Native Americans, then adopted by early pioneers. The cool thing about a tomahawk is that if you do break the handle, which I've never broken a handle on a tomahawk, but if you did snap the handle, you can replace the handle without having to, you know, go back to your wood shop or your home, whatever it is, whereas with an axe that's definitely significantly harder to do. So that being some of the details, let's start chopping with this thing. So as you can see, one cool thing about this hawk is that you have the hammer pommel on the back, and right there behind me is a log I want to use to split some wood on top of, but it's frozen into the ground. I could, you know, probably kick it over real hard with my feet, but since I got the hammer pommel here, I'm just gonna hit that one and another one to break them up and loosen them from the ground. So cool to have a cutting edge and also that hammer pommel on the back to you know, use for various purposes. As you can see, wood processing, no problem for the Tomahawk from Cold Steel. And yeah, it didn't, I'll tell you this, it didn't come maybe as sharp as I would like, but sharp enough definitely to do the work I put in front of it here. I will definitely take this home and sharpen it up after I use it today. Let's do a little bit more detail type work here, see if we can get some shavings. So as you can see here, definitely does the work. And it's pretty comfortable in hand actually, despite the fact that it's 22 inches from the top all the way to the bottom of the handle. It's easy to maneuver. See if we can make a little tent stake here. There's that. Now the ground is frozen here, but let's see if we can put this into the ground nonetheless. Use the hammer head a little bit. Yep. There you go. Again, utility, both that cutting edge and then the ability to hammer as well. One thing I like about tomahawks is I find they tend to bite really well into wood. Splitting maybe not as effective, again, as an axe, but they definitely bite in effectively if they're sharpened and well made. And so we got a dead tree here. Let's do some chopping into this, see how it goes. So just to show you real quick up close there, I mean, I wasn't swinging very hard at all, and that thing was definitely chopping into the wood, biting in very nicely. So yeah, definitely doing the job. All right guys, so as I often do, I'm showing you what it looks like here on camera to use it, testing it out. Obviously, you know, it's still got the sticker on there, so brand spanking new. And then I'm gonna use it more, and then we'll wrap up this video, you know, later on, sometime down the road in the studio, and let you know what we think about this, this tomahawk. I'll give you some initial thoughts. My first thought when I picked it up was, oh man, that feels kind of heavy. Then I compared it to some of the other hawks that I have, and I was like, no, it's actually quite comparable. 2.14 pounds is the weight. For some people, that's a deal breaker. That's too heavy. They want something lighter. If that's the case for you, then you know you got to find something smaller, obviously, and more lightweight. For me, I don't mind that. I like the CRKT Kanji tomahawk because of how long your chopping edge is, but I'm not a huge fan of the spike. I just think that pommel, that hammer pommel, is just much more, it's just much more helpful for me in the woods when it comes to tasks that I need, tasks that I would be doing. A pommel's better than that spike, just kind of how it is for me. This thing, one of the immediate things as soon as I started using it was the shape of that handle, and again, I'll show you this way. All right, see that teardrop shape? That gives me better grip. I do like some of the CRKT tomahawks, but that rounded handle I don't like as much as this one. Some people say we'll put tape on it, or you know, leather, wrap it, something like that. I prefer just to have my tomahawk, the head and the handle, that's it. So I really like that shape. I will tell you, I'll show you here a little bit, even before I started using it at all, there was a little bit of movement in the head. See if you can see this at all, or hear it maybe. So a little bit of movement there. That set screw, I'd have to take it out and reset it. I'd prefer that it just came, you know, locked in, but not the end of the world. You can see, as they set it, we do have some curls of wood there. So just, you know, I want you to be aware of what it is when you get it. I don't know why. I mean, I get why they would put this on here because they want people to know American Tomahawk Company, but right there on the blade, like put it on a piece of paper or wrapped around the handle that I can take off easily. That thing is just gonna be a pain to get off. It'll eventually wear off, but anyhow, that's just a little bit annoying to me. When it comes to a cutting tool in the woods outside of my knife, my preference is like a large chopper, like an Essie Hungless, the Tops Kukri, and then a tomahawk, and then an axe. I just, for what I'm doing in the woods, that's my preference and kind of how I'm using those larger chopping tools. I have liked this one. It works well, it cuts well, very easy to use. I was surprised, despite that 22-inch handle, to choke up and do some of that more, I don't know, detail work, but you know, getting shavings and stuff like that. This was definitely was easy to handle. Your price point for this hawk is $32.99, which is very comparable to a lot of the other hawks by Cold Steel and other companies out there. So yeah, let me head off into the woods, use this thing a bit more, and then we'll come back after a while, and back in the studio, I'll wrap up my thoughts after I've had a chance to put this through the paces quite a bit more. All right, ladies and gents, I've been out in the woods using this thing, testing it out. You can see I finally got the sticker off, wore off a little bit, and then I got a chance to just scrape it off. So what do I think about this tomahawk overall? Let me talk about some things I want you to be aware of. Again, downsides, it's more of a preference thing. I wish they didn't put the black coating on there, the black paint. I'm sure that's gonna help with corrosion resistance, but I'll probably end up getting some sort of paint stripper and taking that off. The set screw I can do without. It's not a huge deal to me, but I wish that they didn't put it in. And it was, like I said, a little bit loose when I first got it, so I'm gonna have to, you know, adjust that, tighten it up, make sure it's good to go. Those are really the downsides to this thing, which I think are pretty minimal. The upsides, first is the price. You know, again, over at Smoky Mountain Knife Works, smkw.com, you're paying a little over $30 for this thing. And I think that is a great deal for a tomahawk like this. I think you're getting good bang for the buck. The other thing I'll mention is that when I first picked it up, I'm like, oh, that thing feels a little heavy, but I compared it to some other tomahawks I have, and it's quite comparable. The major win, like I've told you a bunch of times, is that handle. Let me compare that to this right here, which is the Kanji from CRKT. Let me see if I can line those up a little bit, but you can see that's much more of a teardrop. That's much more just round. And for me, that makes a huge difference. Just much more, it's notably more comfortable. Even as I hold it right now, it just falls into the crease of my hand, and it's what I want a tomahawk to feel like. So I think that's a win. Again, that hammer on the backside, utility versus, I think the Kanji from CRKT looks really cool, but I'm just not using the spike a lot. Whereas the hammer I could definitely use in a variety of different purposes. Just to show you real quick a size comparison, let's back up here. But you can see we've got probably, I don't know, 3 inches or so for the Rifleman versus the Kanji. Let's see if I can back up a little bit more. That's what it looks like. So, you know, this is a shorter tomahawk. You're going to get more power with this one. The weight is pretty similar. The Rifleman's going to be a little bit heavier. I'll show you the Chogan here. This is also from CRKT. That's what that looks like. This does have the, the hammer pommel on the back. Let me show you a couple more real quick comparison. This is the Kanji from CRKT, made or designed by RMJ. Much more of a tactical tomahawk, and obviously a huge difference in size. You're probably talking, 8-10 inches right there of difference. This one is super manageable, easy to wield. You can see I've used it quite a bit, but it's not built to be like a woods tomahawk in the same way. You can use it in that way, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend this guy for the woods as much as I would this guy from Cold Steel. Let me show you one last one. This is from SOG. This is their Survival Hawk. And this thing is way smaller. I mean, look at that. It's literally like half the size of it, but you're not going to be doing any serious chopping with this thing. I mean, this is like a camp tool. It's got a fire steel built in, which incidentally it broke one of the first times I used it. It's got some paracord. It's got kind of this thing you could put on a, like a chain link fence and pry, but it's vicious looking. Obviously, it's got a cool feature, but as far as functionality, this hawk's going to give you just way more in the woods as far as, chopping, hammering, just even, it's not going to maybe be as good as detail work with that thing, but, you could still get the job done, choke up and scrape and whatever it is with this hawk from Cold Steel. So bottom line, I mean, I would put this into the category of a budget tomahawk that is definitely bang for the buck. I think you're getting a good quality item. A couple of modifications that you can do once you get the hawk, take off that paint, tighten it up, and I think you're good to go. I'm probably gonna do some sort of, I don't know, stain or something like that on this handle. It's a little too bright for me. I like the look of the CRKT ones a little bit more. But yeah, hickory handle, solidly made. And again, for around 30 bucks, I think you're getting a really good deal. So, and if you own one, let's hear your thoughts. And Cold Steel has a variety of hawks as well. So if you have other ones that you've used, let's hear from you what you think about it, which ones you've liked, why you like them. I don't have this, I can't say this is long-term use, again, like a year or something like that. But so far, I've been pretty impressed with this thing. And I can tell you honestly, when I got it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. And every time I've used it a little bit more, I've liked it a little bit more. So thanks as always for checking out the videos. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids here on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.